What's up, guys? I hope that you are having a glorious day. Today, me and Cody are going to talk about the benefits of having multiple skills, aka not being a boring piece of shit, also known as being a well-rounded individual. And the reason we're going to talk about this is because a lot of people are inside of a box. They place this ceiling above themselves and they only have one path and they stay on that path for their entire life, and they think it's wrong to deviate off of it and explore different avenues. And we're going to talk about why it is good to explore different avenues today and why you don't need to stay inside that box. You need to break out of that son of a bitch now. But this all starts with our upbringing. It is part of our culture nowadays to kind of become hyper-focused on one career path. You already know in high school, you think you know what you want to do in high school, which is, looking back, I'm only 30 years old, but looking back on that, it's complete bullshit. How am I supposed? I said I wanted to be a firefighter in high school. That was my career path. I knew I wanted to be a firefighter. Firefighting is cool. I have nothing against it. I appreciate firefighters.
Absolutely.
Some of my best friends are firefighters. It is not for me. Business is my thing. This is what brings me enjoyment. This is what I thrive to do every single day. But what if I just decide, you know what? No, I'm going to be a firefighter. That is what I'm going to do. And that's what I went, school for. And then I got out and said, I'm going to do this. And I just stayed on that path until I was 60 years old. And then I retired. And that was my life. Once again, I'm not bashing that career. I'm just using it as an example because that is what I thought I wanted to do. But looking back on it, I did not know what the hell I wanted because I was 17 years old. But how many people just decide at such an early age, this is what I do. This is what I'm going to do. Your parents back you up on it. You go to school for it. And that is your life. And then you die without exploring different things to see if you actually enjoyed something else more because you stayed inside that damn box.
I think in middle school when the teacher handed me, my slip of paper, said, "What is your dream job?" I might have wrote, or what do you want to be when you grow up? I think I might have wrote like the president of the United States.
Hey.
Which
you still might be, Cody.
I'm going to be 28 in March, so I got 7 years until I can run.
Are you thinking about it, bud?
I might, man.
Are you going to run for president?
I think I could turn this place around.
No one's turning this damn place around anymore.
This boat is headed straight towards a cliff. It is not fucking turning.
Oh. But yeah, it's not realistic.
No.
And also, I knew at a very young age that I was an entrepreneur. Whenever other kids were playing like army and stuff, I literally was making box forts and putting it by the road with little handmade signs for different business ideas I was coming up with. This is just how my brain functions. I've always been an entrepreneur. But I had, as along the way, I'm sure multiple people told me, well, that's not very safe. You shouldn't take that route. You shouldn't be self-employed because there's not job security in that. It's a roller coaster. I'm having flashbacks right now. That's exactly why I kind of gave up on that dream in high school and I decided to take a more modern approach to it, something that was more safe, because I had people in my ear tell me that I couldn't do it.
And that stems from their lack of confidence. They weren't confident in their path. And it's almost getting projected onto you.
Yeah.
Is what it is. These people, when they decided what they wanted to do and stuck with it for 40 years and then retired, they never got to explore these other options. So that is a foreign language concept to them.
You also have people that aren't even doing something that they want. They're doing something that their parents told them that they need to. Say your dad missed out on his glory days of being a football player, so he makes his son play football from the time he's 6 years old, and then you're going to go to college for this. And this kid just very well might hate football, but he's doing it because his dad wants to live through him because he wasn't good enough to do it himself. I'm just using that as an example, but that does happen. But then you have some people, they love football, and they're really damn good at it. And those are the people making millions of dollars with it right now. But a lot of people aren't being true to themselves. They're listening to what society tells them that they need to do, or they're doing what their parents told them that they need to do, or maybe what their parents do for a living. well, my mom did that and she seemed like she made good money, so I'm going to do the same thing. And that's also when we place ourselves inside that box, is whenever we just look at the money sign. Well, this person is a lawyer, so they make pretty good money. They have a nice car and a nice house. I think I want to be a lawyer too. Do you have any interest in that? I don't want to be a damn lawyer. But if I was just looking at the money sign, it could be very appealing. I know some very rich lawyers.
Absolutely.
I know some very rich accountings as well, and I'd rather hit my dick with a hammer than be an accountant. But my accountant has a lot of damn money, I'm sure. Actually, he just bought a really nice piece of commercial real estate. I met with him yesterday.
Nice.
Very nice.
Good for him.
I don't ever want to be an accountant, but it's because I've never looked at the money sign. I've never chosen a career path. Once again, I said I was going to be a firefighter. I knew very well going into it that like firefighters do not get paid what they should. Same with teachers.
Public service in general.
And that was another thing. I thought I wanted to be a history teacher because I loved history. My brain has never operated that way, looking at money. You know, I was kind of like, well, I want to do something that I'm going to enjoy. And I think I would have enjoyed both those career paths as well. But either way, a lot of people, they just they follow where the money goes. Oh, I want to be a nurse because nurses make okay money. They do make better money than some people, you know, like traveling nurses.
It's not bad.
Right. They do okay for themselves, but maybe you just don't want to be a nurse. Once again, I do not ever want to be inside a brick building all day. I hate even going there for 10 minutes. And that's what I think about when I have to go to the hospital or a doctor's office. I'm like, I would kill myself if I had to be here every day. It's just not for me. But you were a nurse. That appealed to you. But how many people did you work with that hated their job, that hated their life? Because this just really wasn't something that they wanted to do.
I mean, it's a tough profession, man.
Yeah, of course.
There's a lot of factors in that. And especially with we won't even go down that.
But people get stuck in that.
People get stuck in it.
Maybe they weren't expecting it to be as rough as it is because they deal with the worst, man. You've told me some of your stories. I'm like, shit, that's heavy. And they go into it because they were just chasing the money. Well, my aunt is a nurse and she makes okay money, so I'm going to go to school to do the same thing. That's how my family is. I have like 10 nurses. My grandmother actually told me she was one of them. I love her. She is a great woman. I don't think she listens to the podcast, but if she is, you are great, Grandma. But you also told me that I should not start my own business and that I should go to school to be a nurse. When I started Norse, it was never, how is Norse doing? How is your business doing? It was, when are you going to, I think you should go to school to be a nurse because your aunt's going and she makes this much money right now. And I was like, I don't give a shit how much she makes. That's not what I want to do. But me and my dad used to joke about it because my whole family was like, Andy, you need to be a nurse. They told my dad that he needs to be a nurse. The dude's been a mechanic his entire life. And they're like, Cliff, when are you going to find a real job? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm a master mechanic. Like, this is what I do. But my grandma has told him the same shit. Like, well, you should think about becoming a nurse. Why would he do that?
Listen,
because you know someone that makes money. That's my whole point here is you can't just chase the money. Is money important? Hell yeah, it is. Money is awesome. Money is great. Money provides opportunities. Money gives you freedom. Money allows you to contribute more to society. You know, the more money you have, the more you can give to charity. You can help out, you know, kids that come from a rough background. Like that's what we do with Norse. We give money to a charity every year for kids that come from domestic abuse houses and stuff like that. We would never be able to do that if it wasn't for money. But that is not our main focus. Our main focus is providing value and to change the world and eliminating the world from mediocrity, which is why we do this podcast. We don't make money directly from this podcast. I do it because I love it. It brings me fulfillment. Now, none of this would be happening if I just decided to be a firefighter in high school. If I stayed inside that box and I was like, I don't have there's nothing else for me out there. This is it. And that's my whole point is you cannot stay inside that box. You need to explore. You need to find out who you are, what interests you, and then go down that road. But this whole episode isn't even about careers. It's about everything. A lot of people, though, they don't even try to gain new hobbies. I don't have time for that because this is just what I do. I need to direct all my focus towards this. Well, you've been doing this for 10 years. You're really damn good at this. But you're also not happy because you've been doing the same thing every single day for the past 10 years. You know how you bring excitement to your life? By learning new things. Like you with photography. What made you want to get into photography? You were a nurse, but what made you want to get into photography?
I mean, I've always just enjoyed taking pictures. For me personally, going somewhere and taking a good picture, I can almost relive it when I look at that.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Imagine if you told yourself, though, I like photography, but I'm not going to learn it because I'm a nurse. That's how some people's brain works, man.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the end of the day, it's an excuse. It's an excuse for them to stay inside their comfort zone, and they have blocks. We all have different blocks. We have mental blocks, we have money blocks, we have relationship blocks. We have certain aspects of our subconscious that stops us from living our best life and from reaching our full potential in every aspect. But there are people that will not learn something new because it doesn't apply to their chosen path right now. And it's toxic, man.
It is.
And I hate it so much because I look at people, I'm like, you are capable of so much more. Yes, you are awesome at this. And I love it that you're awesome at this. But you could be doing more. And that's my whole thing, man. Like, I want everyone in this world to love life as much as possible. And that's why we have this podcast, is because like we want to kind of open people's minds and be like, hey, maybe this idea relates to you and you've never thought about it like that before. And if that one idea allows you to have a more open mind and explore different paths that brings you more fulfillment, awesome. But that's not going to happen if you just stay trapped.
I think a lot of this stems from the lack of confidence.
Yeah.
That people have. They get on this one singular path, and this is what they're doing. This is all they're doing. This is what they're doing for years and years and years. If anything rattles that path, that could create a huge crisis with that person.
But like if they fail at it or something?
Yeah. Or like just anything, comes along and just shifts that direction a little bit. That's all they know. So they don't know how to deal with the adversity behind it. If you're a more well-rounded individual and you have all these, certain skill sets and you are a sound person, if anything rattles that path, you take a step back and you're like, all right, well, this happened. You dissect the situation and figure out, where you need to go from there. But if all your marbles are in one row, and that's all you have, and that comes tumbling down, people get lost very quickly.
Yeah, it definitely sends them way off course.
Way off. And what is that? That can just create a spiral of just a downward spiral into something that person might not be ready for.
Yeah, a miserable existence. And they're scared of that. But here's the thing, man. Everything you just described is a lot worse than reality. Because here's the thing. Yes, if you take this risk and you decide to do something new, will you fail at it? Potentially. But guess what? You failed and you learned. And you also learned if you want to do this or not. You may not. It's okay, cool. I'll move on to something else. The worst thing to happen is that you fail. And the only reason failure is bad is because of your ego. Your ego decides that's bad. I don't want to fail. If I fail at this, then I'm screwed. Everyone's going to judge me. I'm going to hate myself.
That's exactly it. We're scared of what people think. We're scared that, this person or that person is gonna find out that, we failed at this new thing.
Well, that's what stops
I
people
don't
from
fucking care. I tried.
And that's it.
Yeah, I gave it a shot. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out. If I gave it a shot and there's potential there and I might need to approach it in a different way, there's that option too. Just because you fail at it doesn't mean there's not another way to get back into it.
Well, a lot of people don't ever get started in business for that. Maybe they have a really great business idea that could provide a lot of value to the world. And they say,
you're about to speak to me.
Yeah, but if I don't do this, or if I do this and I fail, look, what are people going to think of me? What are my parents going to think? What are my neighbors going to think? What is my wife going to think? Yeah, you might fail, But guess what? That fear of failure is your motivation. There is nothing that's been more motivating to me in my life than waking up every single morning, because this is my train of thought every single morning is, oh shit, I need to get out of bed. I need to get to work. And by get to work, I mean like my first 2 hours of the day is self-improvement type stuff. I do meditation, I do breath work, I read, I might do a course or something like that. But either way, that's what's in my head. I need to get up. I need to get to work. I need to start. I need to continue doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing. Because what if I slack off and I fail? Fuck, that would suck. It's not the end of the world. Say if something happened with Norse right now, at this point, like I don't have any worries about that. We're good. But say something terrible happened and Norse like went bankrupt. Shit. We had a good run. Time to start a new business. And also, what's your definition of failure? Okay, whenever I started a band, the band did not get as big as I wanted it to. We did okay. You know, for a hardcore band, for like the 5-6 years that we were in existence, like, you know, we did some things. We toured the country. We toured different countries, 3 different countries. Played a lot of shows, met a lot of great people. I played for 5 people and I played for hundreds of people. But I wasn't playing for thousands like I imagined in my head whenever I was 8 years old. And I originally came up with that dream to be a musician and to start a band to go on tour. But I don't consider that a failure. Yeah, the band broke up and it didn't get as big as I wanted it to. I still gave it a shot. I'm good. But I remember back in those days too, like I remember thinking I was worried about what other people thought too. Maybe the music's not as good. Maybe people will look at us and we're not as big as, say, my friend's band, and that makes me look bad. I don't give a shit about that kind of stuff anymore, but back in the day, it did affect me, and it probably held me back from taking more risks. But I think that's what it boils down to, is a fear of failure. And why do we fear that so much?
Societal expectations.
That's it, man. Expectations in general.
That's why we fear it so much.
Get rid of them.
We've been taught that failure is just negative and that you can't learn anything from failure.
You're going to fail. You're fair, whatever the fuck that means. Fail. You are going to fail. There's no one in existence that did not fail. Now, there are a lot of people that only kind of failed, I guess. Like their failures are small, but you know why their failures are small? Because they didn't take any damn risks. And you know why their life is mediocre? Is because of that. Okay, yes, you live a very safe life. You have one career. You have no hobbies because you think that you don't have time to learn something new, or that you shouldn't learn anything new because you just need to stay focused on this one thing. But as a result, you live a mediocre life. And that frustrates me more than anything. I hate that. I hate that for everybody. And I know some people are okay with that. And that's cool. Like, that's you. But personally, for one, it scares the shit out of me. But also, it's just, why not want more for yourself? But it all goes back to failure. It goes back to being scared. It goes back to not having confidence in your ability to do something, to try something new. I tried playing soccer. So here's a good example. I tried playing soccer in elementary school.
I was about to give one too.
Dude, I was so bad at it. Yeah. I was so bad at soccer. I failed at soccer miserably. I remember this one time I was playing soccer. You know, I was at a competition doing terrible. And my dad was there. This dude used to work. He had like 3 jobs. He was a mechanic. Then he was a bartender at night, or barbacks, you know, whatever. And then he'd get off at like 5 a.m., pick me up from the babysitters or my grandparents or whoever, take me to the soccer game. The dude would stay up, watch me play. But I remember this one time I was playing, the ball hit me straight in the dick. I fell on the ground, dude. You know, I fell on the ground. I just got hit in the dick with a soccer ball. My dad stands on top of the car and is pointing and laughing at me. But either way, I wasn't good at soccer. There's a lot of things that I've done throughout my life that I was just miserable at. But I learned very quickly, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Time to move on and try something else. But imagine if I just said, okay, I'm bad at soccer. I'm never going to do anything else ever again. But if it's a young enough age, that will create a block inside of you. That one failure, and depending on whoever is, however you handle that, say even if you're 5 years old, if you handle that wrong or your parents handle that failure wrong, it'll fuck you up for the rest of your life if you don't have enough self-awareness. And there are a lot of people now that they just stay in their comfort zone and they don't try new things because they're scared of failing. Hold you back, man. What was your example?
Photography, man.
You always didn't do photography?
Well, it's more along the lines of, no, it's something I always wanted to do. I've just always had like...
You're holding yourself back on it right now, aren't you?
A placement, and I had like just an eye for it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not that, but you know, my choice of photography is, you know, nature, landscape, wildlife photography. Dude, you're not going to get that picture 9 out of 10 times. This little image you have in your head of like, all right, this is where I'm going. This is what I want this image to look like. You hike 8 miles to get to the spot and the weather changes. That's failing to get the picture. Yeah. But
now imagine if you just stopped right there.
Yeah, if I just stopped right there, you know,
I'm never going to take another picture. I'm going to sell all my stuff because I didn't get the one shot.
I went on this strenuous hike to this location to take this picture. But where people see that as a failure, I still hiked 8 miles.
Yeah, there's positives, man.
I still did this.
It's that unwavering positivity.
I still, you know, I might not have got the picture I wanted, what I had in my head, but I learned how to shoot in a different condition.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
You grew from it.
And that's my point of giving that example. You know, the growth is not necessarily in getting that shot, the perfect picture. The growth is what it takes to get there.
Right. And appreciating that and not taking failure as like an end-all type thing, because it's not. It's never the end.
No.
Unless you die from it, it's not the end.
And I got pretty discouraged, like starting out, man. I got my camera and I was like, all right, I'm ready to do this.
It's a lot harder than you thought it was.
Son.
Yeah.
I had to put a lot of research hours into it. You know, you shooting in low light conditions where you have to put your camera in a manual mode, like, and you control everything.
That's a different world right there.
You'll click the button and it'll just be a black picture on your screen. You're like, all right, well,
I did something wrong.
I guess I'm done.
I did everything wrong.
Yeah. I guess I'm done here, man. But you know, having all these skills and being well-rounded, it makes you a more relatable person. It helps you deal with adversity when that happens, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's never do you start off on something and nothing goes wrong. It helps you handle the adversity. It makes you a more relatable individual, which both of those allows you to provide more value.
And once you provide more value, that's more success. The most successful people in this world are the ones that provide the most value to civilization. That's it. That's how it has always been. Now, the way that you provide more value is by learning and by being able to have confidence in things. But being well-rounded, I think the biggest benefit of it, in my opinion, is the amount of confidence that you have. When you know how to do, when you're good at a variety of things, you have more confidence compared to just being confident at, say, one particular thing, and then everything else, you're like, oh, fuck, I don't have any confidence. I don't know how to do that. That's a bad place to be. And I've been there, especially with business or anything for that matter. I didn't know how to do it, and I started learning. The more I learned, the more confident that I got. That also opened up more doors. It also sparked creativity. You know, the more that you learn about something, the more ideas that you get. And that idea might result in you wanting to try something new, which is great. What I'm saying is do that. If you want to try something new, then just do it. Pick up a new hobby. If you hate your job, go find a new job. It could be you might be doing something that you don't really want to do. You as an individual, your true self hates what you're doing. You live in the 21st century. That is not necessary. You can go find something. There are endless jobs out there right now that apply to like the most basic things. You don't have to hate life.
No. When you open yourself up to new opportunities or learning new skills, you're going to find out what you're good at naturally without having to put much effort to it, what you're bad at, and what you need to work on. So not only is it going to allow you to pick a direction, it's going to show you where you might be lacking, where you thought you were doing okay as well.
Yeah.
It's going to open up a different level of self-awareness.
Yeah. It definitely forces you to reevaluate things, to reevaluate yourself. How many people do you know that thinks that they're hot shots because once again, they're good at one thing. And as soon as they try something new, they fail miserably and their ego is crushed. It kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier. You know, as soon as they hit an obstacle, they don't know how to deal with it. Well, shit, I thought I was really good at this. It reminds me of jocks in high school. A lot of jocks in high school walking around swinging their dicks around. And then once they got out of high school, they were screwed because they didn't take the time to like kind of have different interests and stuff. But yeah, I definitely think it all comes back to, you know, it does help you with problem solving. The more things that you know how to do, the easier you're going to be able to solve problems. Which life is full of problems.
Life is a problem.
Life is a problem.
It's a problem, man.
It's a glorious problem.
It's a problem.
It's beautiful. But yeah, I mean,
it's a beautiful problem.
The way you deal with problems is by having confidence. So it all comes full circle. Now, how do we apply this to our life? Because there are some people that don't actually take the time to learn how to get good at things. They jump from one thing to another after they spend, a month or two doing it. You're going to have to spend longer than 30 days doing something in order to get like good at it. That's a problem as well. There's a balance there. Maybe don't spend your entire existence only doing one thing, but also don't be that wishy-washy son of a bitch that's just jumping from one thing to another without getting good at anything. And I think that the easiest way to do that is by focusing on one thing until you get confident in it. When you're confident with something, and then once you're confident, you say, okay, cool. I can continue going down this path, but I've also been wanting to try this. Maybe I'll do that as well. And the way that I'll try to tackle this is with three different aspects. You have wealth, health, and spiritual. Those are the three aspects that like everyone is trying to do. That's what that's their main focus in life. Creating money, because you have to have it in order to survive. That's our survival. That's a evolutionary response right there. And then you have your health. That's survival as well. If you're not healthy, then your chances of survival is a lot less. And then spiritual, that's just for mental well-being. And by spiritual, I'm not referring to religion. I'm talking about you as an individual, focusing on that, reading books about it. If you have a problem, a mental block maybe, there's a part of you, a relationship block, something like that. Reading about that, becoming more confident in it, learning how you can improve in it, that is spiritual. But there are people that don't even bother doing that. And also being spiritual with religion. Don't just become hyper-focused on one thing and exclude everything else. Because there might be one thing from a religion, a different religion, say if you're Christian and Buddhism. Two different religions. Similar, different aspects, but they are two different religions. You have a lot of people that I'm a Christian, I won't ever read anything about Buddhism. Well, this could actually benefit your life a good amount, man, but you refuse to because you're stuck in that box. But if I can tackle those three aspects of life, wealth, health, and spiritual, and I'm usually trying to improve in every aspect on those three aspects, but I'm hyper-focused on one thing at a time. So say if it's building wealth, use copywriting as an example, or marketing. I'm going to become hyper-focused on learning copywriting, which that's been the most recent endeavor over the past year or so. It's just getting really good at writing as much as possible. And then as far as health goes, finding workouts that I enjoy. It used to be powerlifting. I decided that powerlifting was cool. I did it for a while. And I was like, okay, well, I want to mix it up. I want to try bodybuilding. I enjoyed bodybuilding more than powerlifting. Now I'm doing more functional stuff. And the reason I'm doing more functional stuff is because it applies to all my other hobbies. Mountain biking, Muay Thai, yoga, hiking, camping. That's the health. So, now I'm expanding my view on fitness because I'm exploring functional style stuff, more strength and conditioning. And then with spiritual, dude, I'm always learning to something different with that. Always trying to find a way that I can become more connected to my true self. So don't be wishy-washy. Don't be all back and forth on things. Decide what you want to get good at and become good at it. But don't stay stuck there if you don't want to stay stuck there. Now, if you just love this one thing and you just want to dive into it, that's fine. Become really good at that. But make sure that you enjoy it. Make sure that you're still loving life, that you're feeling fulfilled. Because if you're not, then it's time to reevaluate things. It's time to try something new. Don't think that you're just stuck because you're not. Is there anything you want to add? I think it's a pretty good place to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for listening to another episode of The Norse Mentality. This podcast is a byproduct of Norse Fitness. You can find us online at norsefitness.co. You can find me on Instagram at Andrew Cliff Lewis. Cody, how can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Cody_Whitley.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We will talk to you soon.